Formula One fans, welcome back to another Race Weekend Canada's F1 podcast. I'm your host, Nellas, joined by team manager for Pro Racing Ontario, Darryl Timmers.
I'm here.
Fresh off a podium. P1 finish yesterday.
Yes, decided to dust off the helmet, jump into a cart that I pulled out of a bin, and yeah,
there it is.
I didn't want to go out and qualify. It was a little bit raining, and I just got over a cold, so I was like, I'm just going to start from the back and let everyone do their thing, and ended up taking last lap, last corner win after... sorry, Greg, but, I just had to show you a little thing or two.
There's a reason he's on the podcast. He knows his way behind the wheels. And if you want to get behind the wheels, be sure to hit Darryl up. Motorsport Karting Center, you're a Charles Leclerc kart dealer, yes. Pro Racing Ontario. They have all the intel, the know-how, even all of the data that you see the Formula One guys using. Darryl is your guy, so just hit him up. Second, if you enjoy the podcast and you watch it on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, or of course, you can stream us on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, as well as Amazon, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to check us out. Just search Another Race Weekend. And with that being said, let's talk Formula One. If you listened to the last podcast, you didn't even need to watch this Baku or Azerbaijan Grand Prix, because we told you it would be a Red Bull 1-2, and poof, there it is.
There it is.
Max number 1, Perez number 2. What did you make of the weekend for Red Bull on a whole and the drivers individually?
It was a huge weekend for Red Bull. This was a big punch to the gut for Ferrari. Max drove really well. He was controlling his tire deg the entire race. He outperformed Perez on that aspect. Perez had probably outright better pace than him, from lap to lap. But in the end, Perez just couldn't hold on to his tires, and Max did, and Max was able to capitalize on that and take the win. And at this point, I think Max is starting to mature a lot more. He's starting to realize, I need to control the race more instead of attacking and kind of take off. So it was good to see Max controlling it and being a little bit more calm.
Question for you though: Perez got a great jump, great launch, took the lead on the first corner. How did he cough up that one?
In the end, he's driving the tire a little bit too hard, isn't he? He said he had massive deg. When he was talking to George after the race, he was saying how his degradation on his tires was unbelievable compared to what Verstappen was doing. And that's just, maybe he has an outright pace. He is faster than Max this weekend. He did the fastest lap, and he was always, out qualifying him or faster in practice. But at that point, maybe being on that edge of being really, really quick is good for qualifying, but it's not going to be good for the race just because you're going to, wear out your tire a little bit more. So that's where Max came in and kind of outperformed him a bit and just used the tires a little bit less, was a little bit massaging a little bit more like Hamilton used to do last year, and it ended up outperforming Perez in the end. And wow, what a weekend. What a weekend on the Red Bull side of things. Commanding lead both in the constructors, and now it looks like it's going to be a dogfight between Perez and Verstappen. Because let's be honest, Leclerc is behind the 8 ball. Sainz, I believe, is just out of contention completely now. And Ferrari, as a team, also, the constructors looks a little shaky. Yeah, that's a big gap to make up in a... it's going to have to be a couple of bad weekends from Red Bull. Like both cars can't finish. Then that might get them, a good amount of doubles. They have to finish 1-2 when the Red Bulls don't finish. So there's a lot of factors that have to go on right now in order to bring Ferrari back into it. They're not out, but they're definitely at the bottom of the hill. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. Let's go with, Leclerc, Sainz, Ferrari as a unit. Mm-hmm. Leclerc wakes up this morning. He was devastated. Yeah. And this is where the Monaco strategy thing really shows itself to be a complete blunder. Yeah. Because the blow is less significant. Yep. If they did what they were supposed to do and come out P1 in Monaco, right? Exactly. So Leclerc, what's going through his head this morning with the race coming up this weekend? He knows he has to win. There is a must-win weekend. He has to have get the fast lap. He's got to get it on pole. He's got to show that the Ferrari is fast, which it is. And I think if the car didn't blow, it would have been a really good race between them. They were on different strategies. with all these safety car, the virtuals and all these things that were coming out, it made it for an interest in second half of the race. And I think his strategy might have actually played into that.
I think he had with the strategy,
with
the first VSC that came out, they jumped in right away. The Red Bulls, both of them stayed out.
Yeah,
and it was a hard tire. It was a management thing. Could have came down to the last couple of laps for sure.
And then another VSC comes, and then that could have been another
fresh set of softs or mediums or whatever was available.
Exactly, and I think at this point he has to realize, I'm not out. I can't get into that state of mind, because as soon as you're in that state of mind, it's really hard to get back out. So he has to realize he's not out of this. We're still early in the season. Yes, it's a very, 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 very steep hill to climb to get back into this, but before Silverstone last year, there was a 30-something point gap from first to second, and then all of a sudden Hamilton wins and he's within 10 points again. I think this year both of the top teams are not bulletproof. They're still trying to sort their cars out. They're still trying to work on what this car can do, the limits of the car. How far can they push this engine with this bodywork on it? And I think right now, Red Bull's starting to figure out a little bit quicker. I think Ferrari is kind of stumped on what the heck is going on with their reliability. This weekend was two totally different things. One was definitely an engine, because with Leclerc, with a power unit, I should say. And with Sainz, it's got to be a gearbox transmission issue.
Sounded that way.
Yeah, as soon as you shifted, it was just like, I was like, oh, wow, that's not good.
Yeah, there's some metal floating around
there. Exactly. So, and you would almost want, if both cars are going out, you want the same issue to kind of happen to both cars. And you're like, okay, well, that's the issue. But now that a gearbox went on one and a power unit went on the other, it's like, well, there's two issues that we have to solve now going into Montreal, and we're only 5 days out.
The thing I have with Ferrari is, like, if they haven't, the reliability is an issue, because it wasn't just the two Scuderias.
Yeah.
Magnussen went out.
Yeah.
And Zhou went out.
Zhou went out.
Yeah, and that was, and their, engines or power units are Ferrari power units, right? And Azerbaijan, that top end speed will put your engine under stress.
And how bumpy it is, and the porpoising and everything going on. Those motors were taking a beating at this weekend, and it's not nice on them. As you can see with the Ferraris, maybe it's something that maybe wasn't built as strong as they thought it was, and it started to rattle a little bit more and take shocks a lot more and hits to the cage.
It just takes like one little hairline fracture.
That's
like,
all it is.
Thinner than a slice of paper, because these things are so
precise.
Yeah,
it's like the tolerances are like you said, like
insane.
your paper, like your eyelash.
Yeah,
that's how thick these tolerances are, and when the smallest thing can happen, a pebble can get taken into the intake, and then boom, your whole entire engine's gone.
It's unbelievable. How much 1
force,
millimeter can just change everything.
Well, we've seen the pressure from the aerodynamics blow apart cars just from the air. So
it was Alpine earlier. The whole side
the whole thing just blew apart and came off. I think same thing happened to Aston Martin once this year too as well. So these cars are the pinnacle of motorsports. These cars are designed for this 1 year of racing, and that's it. That is it. They start from scratch again in the winter to build a new car, to be like, okay, this is what we're changing for next season. And these cars are constantly being changed, constantly being worked on, constantly being developed. So sometimes they take a step in the right direction, sometimes they take 10 steps back. And when that happens, you see stuff like that where, the turbulence underneath the motor or inside the bodywork blows it apart, or the engine can't take the long straightaways.
Definitely a strenuous track. It was a race of attrition in the end. There was 4 or 5 DNFs.
Yeah.
And on the flip side of things, we're talking about reliability. Mercedes has that.
Yeah.
And that, I think, could be interesting in the constructors now, because we're looking at a P3 and a P4.
Yeah.
Unexpected, let's be honest. It was a 5.6 if Ferrari didn't go through it. But at the same time, the reliability is not really a question for Mercedes. They thought they were on to something in Barcelona, evidently not, because the porpoising was pretty bad. I mean, looking at Lewis Hamilton get out of that vehicle yesterday reminded me of getting out of bed.
Yeah.
No, but in all seriousness, he was complaining, and they're bringing up the fact that, to both F1 and the FIA, this could be a safety issue now.
It could.
The 65% open throttle, 200 miles per hour down a main straight into a hard 90-degree lefter.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much for these things to get airborne. It doesn't take much for them to be in the wall.
Yeah.
Is this porpoising thing a big-time safety concern for Formula One?
I don't think so, because in the end, it's the teams that are making the car do it. They can stop it from happening. It's just the car slows down. That's the issue. It's not a rule, because Red Bull's not having crazy porpoising. There's other cars that are not having it. It's just the cars that are designed in a way that it affects them, like the Mercedes, so much. They're not going to change a rule because one of the teams is having a big issue. It's like, change your car then, right? Yeah, you see the Ferrari doing it once in a while, but yeah, that was bad. Like, on board with Lewis, it looked violent. Like, his head was just bouncing up and down.
And what people don't realize either is that the seat is maybe an inch.
Yeah.
From the bottom of the seat to the floor.
Yeah.
So every bump, it's literally
everything.
your lower tailbone just smacking the ground.
Exactly.
At 200 kilometers
and it's
an hour,
not
miles an hour.
It's not a cushiony seat.
No.
These seats, they're molded to you, so they are comfortable. I'm not saying they're not comfortable, but they're not soft. Yes, it's like a blanket's wrapped around you, but picture your tailbone still being in a hard position. It's not a soft cushion underneath you. It's a hard foam that they use to wrap around these guys to make sure that they don't move at all in the car. Right. So that, because if they slide in the car, it's gonna set the balance of the car off. If they go into a corner, they're gonna slide and boom, set the balance of the car off.
Which goes back to what we were saying a few minutes ago in the conversation in regards to those things being so precise. You know, like we're talking a millimeter of movement this way throws the balance off of the whole car. Like, people think it's just you jump in a car and you drive. Oh yeah, I drive my car like that every day. No,
you don't.
This is the pinnacle of motorsport, and every little fraction matters.
Yeah, moving their butt forward a half a centimeter to a centimeter back. That whole weight distribution is pretty much balanced out by the drivers. So when they put a driver in the car, it's not like, okay, you get comfortable. It's like, how about this? This is the position you got to sit in. Now try to get comfortable in that position, and then we'll mold the seat around.
Yeah.
And it's like, when Russell took over for Lewis that one race.
Yeah, with the COVID.
With the COVID hit, he got into the car and was like, I can't fit in this. He had to go down a shoe size and a half to get his feet into the car.
Right.
Like, so it's one of those things where it's like, no, like, we are going to make this car and we will put the driver in it. We're not going to build the car around the driver. Right. We're building this car and we're like, okay, now we need you to be in this position. So now sit in that position and we'll mold something around you to make you comfortable. Because as soon as the back air stalls on that splitter, that's what's going to start happening, and it's going to start bouncing up and down again. So they could stop it by raising the car, but you're going to be losing a lot of performance out of the car. So it's not really a regulation thing. It's just poor design, sorry to say, for Mercedes.
And it doesn't look like they'll be able to abandon that because of the salary caps and the cost caps. Like, this is what they got.
This is it.
They got to just work with it now.
Yep.
Let's talk about George Russell. Another podium, third P3 this year. Mr. Top 5. They used to call him Mr. Saturday.
Yeah.
Now they're calling him Mr. Consistency.
Yeah.
And I just can't say enough about this guy. You know, it's a good thing we decided to put him up.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We pretty much nailed it this year.
Yeah, I think that's the top. Yeah, that pretty much is the top 6.
Yeah, we pretty much nailed it, you know? Okay, so let's say, Red Bull has 2 DNFs a weekend. We don't know for a fact that Leclerc is going to win or Sainz is going to win So 8 races in, I think George, he's got as good of a shot as I would say Perez, Sainz, whoever. Lewis, not so much.
Yeah, I would say for sure, you would be able to put him into the same chance of
Perez.
Of Sainz. I would say Sainz. Perez has a really good chance.
He's got a really good car.
Yeah, because he has a good car. So he can go after Vettel. He can capitalize on those DNFs from Vettel to Verstappen.
Yeah, it's all good. I got you.
He can capitalize on Verstappen's mistakes and get that championship from him. He shows that he has outright pace on weekends, so it's not like he's lacking
slug behind there.
Yeah,
he's just waiting. For
exactly. It's not like he was just sitting there waiting for his team to tell him what to do. He's out there to win, and at this point, all it takes is literally one DNF from Verstappen, and he will take the championship.
Correct.
If he wins that race,
I think there's a 21-point gap right now.
So if he wins that race and Verstappen DNFs, he's the championship leader now coming out of Montreal.
There it is. Oh, man. And that would make Verstappen's dad really happy.
Oh, yeah. Very.
Really
he would probably become a fan of Mr. Perez, and he might even try to go to Mexico and visit him a couple times.
Yeah, man. When you put it like that, you see, that's the thing. We were waiting for this regulation overhaul to make the racing more exciting. In ways it has, in ways it hasn't. But if there were to be a mix-up where somebody leading the championship going into the season had no business leading the championship, I gotta say, I think that's a win for Formula One. And if it is Perez, to have him representing a country that isn't in Europe. Mexico City is one of the biggest cities in the world. They got a Grand Prix there.
I've been to that Grand Prix. It's unbelievable. It's the party that happens there, the atmosphere. Everyone's just there to have fun. It's such a great atmosphere at the Mexican Grand Prix, and for him to have that support of being in his hometown and going into a race like that
as the leader in the chip.
Exactly. Oh wow! That would be wild. If that was to happen.
That would be great. That would be great. Don't get me wrong.
He's put so much time in with so many other teams, and he's built he pretty much. If you look at it, he didn't get his first pole until 3 years ago.
Now that we're talking about this, the most incredible part of it would be to have him win the championship 2 years after he got dropped from the team. Just great Hollywood story right there.
It's just how did that work?
Anyway, if you started talking about George Russell, ended up on Sergio Perez.
But
it's all good.
George Russell.
No, it's good. What more can we say? We've said it all about him. He just keeps delivering. Lewis Hamilton, I thought, had a strong race. He had a couple of overtakes in there.
He looked
coming out of the car. You wouldn't expect that.
No. When I saw him, I actually turned to my wife and I was like, "Hey, he actually looks good."
Driving. He's driving.
He actually looks good. I'm not going to say he's back or anything. I'm going to say,
he's
you know what? There. This might be a good step for his confidence to start coming back towards everyone again. He was making good passes. He was passing the AlphaTauris, which he hasn't been able to do all year. He's been stuck behind them for 2 or 3 races already.
That's right.
And for him to make that on both of them, that's a huge confidence.
And they weren't on the straights.
No.
They were tight corner passes, So, I thought it was a strong race from him.
I agree.
We'll get into overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and surprised right now because there are a few things I want to discuss, but I feel like they will be in your overwhelmed, underwhelmed, and surprised. So lay it on me.
So the overwhelmed, I got to say Hamilton because I was cheering for him. I was like, thank you. Finally, we're seeing some sort of spark under you, man. You're not just sitting there anymore.
Right.
I was so happy to see a little snippet of Lewis again.
Of what we know and expect from
of making moves and trying stuff and working at, not just complaining okay, we got this. We're going to do this. Let's go and let's try this. Let's go here. Let's do stuff now. He was like you said, he was in a lot of pain. And I didn't think he was in that much pain until you got out of the car, and I'm like, he can't even move. When he was walking, it was like he had a walker. He was like, oh my gosh, in a lot of pain. So, I'm overwhelmed to see that he's back. Not back. He is starting to look like he's getting comfortable in the car, get his confidence back. Maybe he does perform in Montreal, so maybe that.
That's where he got his first win.
Yeah, so maybe the first
Canada loves you, Lewis.
Come on down and let's win it.
Yeah. And then come over to Mosport, man. Let's do some laps.
Yeah, we can put you in a Charles Leclerc car.
Yeah. Oh my God. Hey, it's on us though.
No problem. Maybe I'll put a pro sticker over
there.
You
go. Absolutely, put a pro sticker on that. Let's go with underwhelmed.
Underwhelmed. Okay, so honestly, Sainz. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on with him right now. So many errors.
I agree. I agree because he had a quick car this weekend, and I like Carlos Sainz, but right off the rip, he wasn't in the mix.
No,
he wasn't there. And DNF mechanical, fine, DNF mechanical, but you weren't there.
No,
so
they just gapped him, and he was kind of just in between Russell and Verstappen, just sitting there okay, well, I'm going to pull away with these guys, but I'm not going to keep with them. So I don't know what's going on with him. It just seems like he just can't, in race form, he cannot put it together. He looks good in quali, he looks good in P1, P2, P3, but I don't know. He just can't put it together in the race.
I completely agree with that sentiment, and it kind of reminds me of Perez last year.
Yes.
It looks very Perez 2021.
But then Sainz last year was like, all we kept saying was like, holy crap, this guy's adapted.
I know it's true.
I just think, it's not a pace thing. It's more of I think it's brain farts out there.
Yeah.
Like what happened in Australia and like surprised. I got to say George, just because, he's so consistent and no one expected this. If anyone told me at the beginning of the year that George Russell will finish in the top 5 in every race to start the first 8 races, being that consistent, I would have bet $1,000 that he wouldn't do that.
Here's the thing. We should place a wager. I think George Russell gets taken out of a race, meaning an incident with somebody or a DNF mechanically before. That'll be the first time he finishes outside of the top 5. In 2022.
I would take that, yeah.
That's my hot take.
Yeah, I think so. At this point, he is
because
that 5th car.
The confidence is just... You could just see it.
Yep.
You know what? You can see it. Like, he doesn't have the greatest car on the grid, but he's used to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anything from the Williams is a step up, as we've been saying.
Yep.
And you could just see in his interviews, like, he's delighted to be where he's at because he knows he's punching above his weight class right now.
Yeah.
And all he's thinking to himself is, I'm with the best team, statistically. Maybe not right now.
Yeah.
But in this generation, this is a solid team. And when they turn this thing around,
and he hopes it's very soon.
Yeah. But even if it's not.
Yeah.
Even if it's not.
Yep.
He's a young guy.
He's there for a long time.
Right?
He's there for a long time.
I'm surprised because I thought you would have thrown Seb or Gasly in the mix.
The other one I was going to say.
Okay.
I was going to say Seb or Ricardo, because he had a decent run. He had a very good. We have to bring him up because
we've been waiting for it.
He showed he had good pace. He passed Lando. He defended for Lando.
Yes.
He could have gone by him, and I think that was part of the reason that Lando caught back up to him later on in the race,
because he was pushing a little.
Because he was pushing,
right.
and he could have passed him and gapped him a little bit more, and Norris would have came back to Gasly, and then he would have had to battle with him, and that kind of would have spaced him out a little bit more. But I also think, he needed this confidence boost to be ahead of him. I'm not very big of a fan to be like Norris being like, why am I staying behind him? It's like, well, he made sure you didn't lose any positions at the beginning of the race, so you can go in and take your pit stop in the position you were.
Yeah.
And he defended for you. He blocked for you. If he wasn't there, you would have been eaten up by that guy.
It was very Netflix.
Yeah.
Norris yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, why? I understand. I understand that was for
strategy,
but
not for position. Yeah.
And it was like, well, technically it was, because he was all over you and he stayed behind you because they said don't pass him. Stay behind and defend for Norris.
Yeah, so I agree. That came across in the later stages of the race. And I was like,
so it's like, and then the team. But I love McLaren because McLaren turned to him and goes, "He just did this for you earlier in the race. You're going to do the same for him. We're returning the favor." Right?
Fair is fair.
Yeah,
and I think that's a genuine approach, especially when they know right up at the top, like Zach Brown, Andreas Seidel, they know Ricardo needs a win. He needs an injection of confidence right now to come around to the car. And hopefully this is the shot in the arm coming into Canada, which is this weekend, by the way. It's been a while.
It is.
2019 was the last race. Of course, that was the race between Hamilton and Vettel, where... Vettel got penalty and
yeah.
Well, we'll
keep it there.
We'll keep it there. Without looking at the clip.
Yeah.
And it could go either way.
Yeah,
that one could have went either way.
Yeah, either way, it is what it is. Like, he did come back on the track a little bit, but at that point, you're fighting the car from staying on the
braking zone too.
Yes.
Right?
So I agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Like, he did blow the braking zone, and if he had made the corner, then everything would have been different. But obviously, if he blows the corner, then it's like, okay, well, you got to give up the spot because you technically gained position by doing that. So,
right.
And to say about the surprise with Vettel, like I was going with him until he started to make the mistake, until he made the mistake. Yeah.
Ocon.
And I was
but he still managed to put together a good race. You got to think, man. That Aston Martin.
Yeah.
He finished in the points. I think he finished P6.
Yeah, he was coming.
And he was in there.
He was coming.
So I thought it was a good race from him, and it was nice to see. It was nice to see Vettel still out there.
Having fun.
Frisky,
yeah.
You know?
I agree. I was thinking that, but like I said, as soon as he made the mistake, I was like, well, come on, man, that's old Vettel. Like,
he made the mistake, but the pirouette was perfect.
Yes, it was.
Man, just like an inch from the wall.
And kept going right
Spun
away.
Spun it around.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we look forward to this Formula One coming to Canada. This is Canada's F1 podcast. Predictions for this weekend.
This is going to be tough because, it is a straight line track like Baku, but it also has some tight technical sections with those S's. The S's are very tight corners. Some of them are second gear corners when you're coming in. Then you got the Champions Wall coming out of the last corner. There's Montreal always puts a good race on. There's always good strategies that happen. It's always a good passing zones. There's lots of passing zones actually. So I honestly think right now I'm gonna say Ferrari comes back. But
for sure.
Yeah, for sure they're coming back. I think there might be a little bit of elbows out now, seeing that Ferrari needs to kind of, hey, if anything, they have everything to lose if they crash into me.
True.
So let's see what happens now when
that good old
Verstappen is in this.
Huh?
Verstappen's in this little predicament, and he can't take that risk of crashing with them. And if they put him in that position and he crashes out, they're going to be like, well,
there it is,
right? And you're back out of that points lead, So the last thing he wants to do is be losing to his teammate right now in the championship.
Facts.
And if him and Leclerc are going back and forth at it, this is where the maturity is going to have to come in and be like, hey, man, you're far behind. Take it. I'll just
put points on the board.
Yeah, I'll put points on the board, pad it with my teammate. And I think at this point, if they crash out, Red Bull has the most to lose.
Totally. Well, we look forward to that, of course.
Yeah.
Once again, F1 on home soil back in Canada for the 2022 GP. We look forward to bringing you another podcast after that. Once again, just a reminder, you can like, share, subscribe on YouTube. Just search Another Race Weekend. And of course, we are streaming all over the DSPs, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Amazon. We're there. We're everywhere. All right? All over.
Everywhere.
For Darryl Timmers, I'm Dames Nellas saying farewell, and we'll chat to you after the Canadian Grand Prix.